and good evening on a Monday night in April. Welcome to Generation Movie. My name is JW Colwell. I am the host of the show that is now streaming on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as we speak. I am joined, as always, by my good friend and partner in crime and movies, Rich Drees of Filmbuff Online and the Philadelphia Film Critics Circle, right?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody.
How's your night going?
My night's going crazy good. While watching the movie that we're going to be talking about a little bit later, I noticed a shooting location that I have actually been to that was not listed in any of the behind-the-scenes stuff that I was able to read about the movie. So I was like, oh, interesting. So we'll get to that.
Cool.
Just, starting off with a good week. Looking forward to doing some more movie watching.
Hello.
I can start talking about.
Hello, Ken.
I can talk about Star Wars Maul, Shadow Lord now.
Oh yeah, you couldn't. Yeah, you see all these things early, and then you can't talk about them. That's got to be.
Yeah.
it's cool to be able to see them, but then not to be able to talk about them. I think I'd lose my mind. Let's start with box office, and then we have a philosophical question at the end of the box office talk that we're going to talk about. So obviously, this movie came out this week, and it made a lot of money.
A couple of bucks.
It made some money. So we're looking at it opened to 190 domestic, 190.8, so like 191. It opened internationally to 181. So it's at 372.6, which is off the first one by about $2.5 million. But that's not. I mean, that's a crazy good opening. Mm-hmm. It broke so many records. But it's obviously the number one movie of the year thus far. Opening and just in general gross. And it's kind of a juggernaut. It is critic proof. I thought it was meh, but the boys. I took my nephews to see it. I took Jake and Caleb to see it. They loved it. It's for them, not me, really. You know what I mean? Like sorry, not that. Yoshi's in it. And he's happy, and he's I thought Baby Bowser and Bowser were the best things in the movie because of their strained, ridiculous relationship. So the question, one of the philosophical questions I'm going to throw at you to start tonight is, can Nintendo make meh movies and just continue to churn out meh movies and hope to stay atop of the box office? Because this one, my thing is, if you're not going to teach them any lessons, they're just going to keep churning out I've come to the conclusion philosophically that I hate Chris Pratt as Mario. That is my new.
That's not philosophically. That can be.
I know, but I don't he makes Mario douchey. He makes Mario douchey.
Well, the screenwriters make Mario douchey. But
yeah, I don't like that at all. I'm
gonna say no, because we're already hearing buzz about it was a lot of, and I hate this phrase, and I hate Parker and Stone for creating this phrase, but it's absolutely apropos here. There were a lot of member berries in this movie.
Right.
From what I understand, I have not seen it, but it's all. And for me, as somebody who doesn't play video games,
it's a series.
Why should I care? Even I'm not going then. I'm not going. If that's all this movie.
It's a series.
You're not luring me in with the promise of a good story.
Yeah, it's a series of bells and whistles and remember berries and all these other things. It's just $372 million, a lot of money. It's probably going to hit $1 billion. It has almost no competition for a month and a half. Rich, it has no kids movies or anything for almost a month and a half. it's just going to run roughshod. The happiest thing I saw this weekend, box office wise, was this movie, even amongst the onslaught, this movie did very well. And it's only down 41%, $31 million. Right now, it's the number one domestic movie at the box office. It's a 218 total, 218 domestic, 203 international. So it's at 421 for the year, almost $500 million on a completely, original movie, that only has a book IP. And then third place went to this movie here, which is what I want to talk about. I'm happy about Project. Any money that Project Hail Mary makes and just keeps on chugging along, yes. The answer is yes, 100 times yes. But this movie came out also this weekend. I did a review of this on Friday, so I had a weird double feature of Super Mario Galaxy movie and the drama, which was a fun little double feature. But my philosophical question to you: this movie grossed $14 million over the weekend. It is not necessarily a movie that I would say is like, it's an A24 movie, but it's not like a horror movie, or it's not, it's kind of, it's a relationship movie with two very big, big stars. But my philosophical question to you is, because we're talking about it now, and without giving out any spoilers, there's a revelation in the movie that causes the wedding in the film to kind of come under drama. And the thing is, they've kept the revelation very secret. And I, in my review on Friday, gave a trigger warning. I'm saying, just be careful.
That's fair.
And my thing about it was, be careful, because I don't know how I would have reacted if I had been in the controversial situation that Zendaya was planning. And so I worry for people who are going to see the movie thinking it was going to be like a rom-com with like maybe like a dirty sex secret or something. It's not. And so, is it brilliant marketing, or is it dangerous? Is my question to you. Is it a masterclass in like, hey, we put this movie out there and had a controversial thing. We didn't know how to talk about it, so we made it into what looks like a fun, trouble getting to the altar movie. Right? And so that's my question to you is like, is it okay, like malpractice?
It depends. Are they, I mean, it's a dark comedy, really. It's a dark romantic comedy. It's,
why can't I hear you?
I know I am open.
No, we're fine. Mike. Go. It was me.
Sorry.
It was me. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I would say if the marketing pushed it as something else, it's perfectly fine for the marketing to say there's a secret, there's a little bit of a mystery box active here in this story. And that, hopefully to hook people in going, ooh, wonder what that is. But if the marketing then portrays it as a happy-go-lucky kind of fun, wacky doodle romantic comedy, like I don't know, When Harry Met Sally or something like that, then maybe a little bit. I mean, the marketing always has to walk a tricky line. It can't give too much away. It has to give enough away to get people interested to come in. And I don't think it should betray the tone of what the movie actually is. Remember a few years back when people would like re-edit like trailers so it seemed like The Exorcist was a comedy or whatever? Remember when they were doing that?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, we don't want that in actuality. It's a fun exercise. It's a fun teaching a moment to say this is how trailer editing works. The Exorcist. Yeah. It's not what this thing is selling, and that's why we shouldn't be doing that. I don't know if, because I haven't seen much of the marketing for the drama, that so I can't rightfully, say call a ball or a strike on this one. But ooh, look at me with a sports metaphor. What the hell?
Look at you, sports ball.
But yeah, I would say if the marketing hasn't really deviated too far away from the actual tonality of the movie, then you're okay without giving away the.
I don't know. I think this one might be rough. This one's right down the middle. I will say, like I said, I gave a trigger warning, and then somebody asked me when I played D&D on Friday what if they thought that they could handle it, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I because I think everybody thinks it's a sex secret or something, something filthy or whatever, and it's not. So, once I think people can go to see a movie and be like, if it's something dirty or whatever, they can get over it. You know what I mean? Like it's taboo.
Yeah, like Zendaya said, I blew my professor for an A in my philosophy class in college.
Yeah. How did you? Oh, anyway. No.
Was
but yeah,
A, really?
I needed that grade. I was young. I needed the money. But it's like one of those things where I honestly it's it's like I said, half the theater I was in when I saw it on Thursday was half was quiet, half was laughing incessantly. Mm-hmm. I was one of the laughers because I have a dark sense of humor. But I don't know how it would have like if I had been part of a situation that I don't know how people react to it. And I don't know if you can call it a bait and switch because they're telling you it's a big revelation that's going to shock you. And it's on you on what you consider shocking, right?
True.
So it becomes this.
Well,
but
that's always the case. Always
the case. But this is not shocking. It's more nightmarish and scary. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, oh, she likes dogs. She really likes dogs. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's not something like that.
Likes dogs who like peanut butter. We'll leave
that. Yeah, and oof. Your dog's in my peanut butter. My peanut butter's in your dog. What? Anyway.
Well,
it's Reese's Cups. But like I said, I think it's an interesting question on whether or not the marketing for a movie where it's got a controversial subject matter. We've had you and I have seen many a controversial movie. Like the one I was thinking about that kind of bled into it was like Natural Born Killers. When Natural Born Killers came out, they were like, hey, this is the goriest, most violent, depiction of media and what you're ever going to see. Kids shouldn't be allowed, right? They played right into it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's not like that. Mm-hmm. But there are things in this movie that, again, could be a trigger for somebody. And so I'm just curious. I think it's really been quite ingenious that they got this little movie that costs a decent amount of money, but not 14. Like I think it's like a $20 million movie, and they've opened it and people are talking about it, and just the suggestion of darkness. And the director is into the whole thing. He made a movie called Dream Scenario where it was like a Nicolas Cage movie. It's a really weird movie where basically one day everybody on the planet dreams about this one particular person. Mm-hmm. And then he becomes a media superstar, but then he becomes like a pariah as well. So it's like, why did we all dream about you? How do we all dream about you? And then it's cool. I got to meet him, and then it becomes, something else. So the director has his finger on that kind of weird, shocking revelation pulse. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's also one of those movies where it's like, it's good, but it's not for everyone. not for everyone is the best way to describe it. But that's an interesting, little thing we're dealing with. If you like what you're hearing tonight, we are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, Twitter or X or whatever the fuck Crazy Pants is calling it today. We're all those places you can like and subscribe. We also have other shows. So we're here Monday nights. Hold on. We're here Monday nights. That's me and you, JW and Rich. I do a show on Tuesday nights called Loud and Nerdy with some my friends Jerry Kimura of the band Slapjaw, Raven occasionally, who's very funny and the youngest member of the network, and Joe Ridgely occasionally the grand poobah of the network occasionally shows up on Tuesday, and that's like a general pop culture show. Then Joe has a new show every bi-weekly Thursday. It's called Untrained and Unscripted with Riot Ryan West, a DJ and all-around pop culture guy, and Joe Ridgely, again, the grand poobah of the network. And we have a big show coming up on April 15th. Charles Edwin Powell will be on Symbolistic Cynicism. It's actually Wednesday, April 15th at 10 p.m. So lots of good shows. If you like what you heard tonight.
Do your taxes and then watch Gabe's show.
Yeah, Gabe's show is always very interesting. He always has really good guests. Gabe and I fight about he loves Saw, and I fight with him all the time. But tonight, go ahead.
Hold on.
Got more
I
stuff?
want to run by the, thanks to the rep programming at my local Regal. Yesterday, I went and saw a self-made double feature of, can you guess what two movies?
I'm trying. Give me 1 second.
I don't think we need that.
No,
Yeah.
we're gonna get that. Okay, so I think I can guess.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say Animal House, and I'm gonna say, Animal House. I know Animal House is one of them.
No, Animal House was Saturday in the Regal's rep program. And remember I told you the story of my piece of molding, crown molding from the actual location they shot in?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If I had it with me, or I was out doing stuff Saturday afternoon, and I was like, oh, maybe I could go see it. And then I was like, the ideal thing would have been to have this with me when I go to see it, and take a picture of it and then the screen and send it to my buddy Steve, who gave this to me. But it would have been, I wouldn't have had time to run home and grab it. So I passed on going to see Animal House on Saturday. Sunday, however, I got up, headed up to my Regal, and saw first the Muppet movie. Because you always go see the Muppet movie when you can. It's beautiful and wonderful. And then I went, and the second film I saw, John Woo's The Killer.
I mean, it clearly could have Muppet. It could have Muppets in it.
Let's all take a moment to think about that, because that sounds
fantastic.
Be
spectacular. Speaking of Muppets, an interesting Muppet thing. A thing came up in my algorithm because of all the Twilight Zone talk I do on Loud Nerdy, and it was a Muppet Twilight Zone episode.
Really?
So it was Piggy and Kermit on a plane, and playing the rain's going on outside, and it focuses on the curtain, and it does a scroll in, and it opens, and it's Fozzie. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. I wouldn't have picked Fozzie, but he's perfectly.
I would have gone with
Think about Fozzie's fur. He's perfectly suited to be on the gremlin on the plane.
Okay, if you're going for like a one-on-one versus the gremlin from that episode, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, I would have gone, just in terms of funnier, I think would have been either Gonzo or Animal.
I thought Animal, but then when it's Fozzie's face against the window, it's practically perfect because he has the matted hair. And I was like, oh, Fozzie is a good choice for that. But anyway, Muppet Movie and The Killer is an extensive, that is a very, again, that's almost like Mario Galaxy and the drama, to be honest. The movies on that list for Regal are astounding. Blazing Saddles and Animal House were this weekend. The Jerk and Smokey and the Bandit are the next couple days. Airplane and The Burbs on the 11th through the 14th. Vacation and Spy Kids 15th through the 18th. The 19th through the 22nd, I'm definitely going because it's Ferris Bueller and Caddyshack. And then the 23rd and 26th, I'm definitely going also because it's Better Off Dead on the big screen. And Beverly Hills Cop, which I don't think I've seen in a theater in a long time. So I think those are the four. I forgot about April Fool's Day, and I forgot about Blazing Saddles and Animal House. But I think I'm definitely going to get to Ferris Bueller and Caddyshack, Better Off Dead, and Beverly Hills Cop in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I do like the Regal idea of doing this, right? I think it's a really good way to. There is nothing better than being in a theater with like 10, 15 people who have a similar sensibility to you. You come out talking about like, oh, they don't make them like they used to, and it's kind of fun that way. Thanks, Joe. Joe says, awesome job. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm just trying to be a host. Just trying to be a host with the mostest. That's a good double bill though. I do like as we get older, the coolest things that you and I do are like, how can we really just kind of have a fucked up double bill? Like, what kind of juxtaposition can we take?
What kind of swing of the cinematic pendulum can we go?
Yeah. Well, how big can you do it? Although one interesting swing of the cinematic pendulum, and as we're talking tonight, this is you and me, and that's Jack Nicholson, and that's Meg Tilly, and that's Harvey Keitel, and we're doing the two Jakes tonight. This poster is one of the most beautiful posters. It may be the most beautiful poster for the movie making the least amount of money at the box office.
I was in college and the entertainment editor of our college weekly at Kutztown University. And we were getting promotional material every now and then. And when this poster came in, actually it came in over the summer. And when I went down to school about 2 weeks before, just to, poke my head into the office, make sure all the mail was and went through all the mail that I was getting and stuff. There's a poster tube and I opened it up and it was the full 32 by 40 of this, or whatever, the 28 by 40, whatever the, full theatrical one sheet size. And I just unrolled it and I was like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful poster I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
and
it's a
I
great
took it home and brought it back a couple weeks later, immediately went up in my dorm room and stayed there for the whole year.
You can't have it. Don't even look at it. You can't have it. Stop looking at it. You know what poster caused that in me? When I was running Endless Mountains, when they started promoting The Dark Knight and they started sending out the Dark Knight posters, there were about 5 posters that came out before that movie, and none better than the fucking Joker, Why So Serious, where it was like him painting backwards on plexiglass with and he has Why So Serious all drawn up here, and then he's like leaning over a little bit and he has like the drawn in Joker smile. It's probably one of my favorite posters. And then of course I had a 40 by 60. My dad's theater in Monticello, New York. The outdoor posters were 40 by 60. So I have 40 by 60s of Raiders, Empire, Superman 2. And then they eventually changed to the one sheets, but at the time they were 40 by 60s. They look a little bit like the 40 by 60s you see now with that are like the IMAX posters that they have now. But like I said, this is a beautiful poster. It's an amazing design. And the movie, we're going to get into it now. This movie is one of those. It's an acquired taste, and it's also a sequel to one of the greatest movies ever made. and it's, you know, it's got all this stuff going against it, right? It's just
It's so darn good, but also there's problems with it.
There's problems, and then there's like, it's got history. It's got, like, the cool thing about this movie is it's probably one of the more controversial $10 million movies ever made. Like a movie that, you know, that costs a ton of fucking money to make, and then you know, the budget's 25 at the time, which is a lot for, you know, any movie at the time in the 90s. 25 is big. But then you start reading about it, and as you're reading about it, but the history is both sad and angry, and also like there are what could have beens, right? So all of those things kind of swirl around it. And so, you know, this movie, The Two Jakes, came out in 1990, opened August 10th, 1990. We're going to talk about that, the box office. I had to come up with a different way to, there's no real great way to say, hey, this movie made $10 million. So I came up with something interesting for tonight's box office
Okay.
portion. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Let's take a half step back.
Good.
This is a sequel to one of the greatest films of all time, perhaps one of the greatest scripts ever fucking written. Chinatown.
It is.
1974, yes. Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway.
Robert Town script. Robert Town script. Directed by a questionable human, but a really good director, Roman Polanski. And you know,
I deal with that issue by going, this was made before that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Chinatown famously ended a little bit differently in Robert Town's script. Polanski pushed for the ending that is in the movie. And if you go, well, it's a really depressing ending, it's a horrible ending. This is the guy who just a few years earlier had his wife murdered by the Manson family. So I think he's probably exercising a few demons here. And
he's allowed to be a little bit grumpy.
Yeah.
But Chinatown, the interesting thing about this movie is part of the history and part of the production history is that it is in Chinatown shadow, right? It's sitting smack dab in Chinatown shadow. It's made 16 years after its predecessor, clearly putting it in a legacy sequel place. But the reason it took 16 years, Rich, is you have rights issues. Robert Evans had the rights to the Chinatown sequel. He was, negotiated.
Robert Evans was head of Paramount at the time Chinatown was made.
And he kept the rights, and he negotiated a sequel with Nicholson in 1976. And Dustin Hoffman was supposed to be in that version of the screenplay. When they finished,
that eventually would be Harvey Keitel's part.
Right. When he went to make the movie in the 1976, Robert Evans said, "I want to play the second Jake." And Robert Town was like, "Fuck no, that's fucking crazy. What are we doing?" And so then Nicholson, Evans, and Town formed their own production company to make it independently. They enter distribution deal with Paramount. Paramount is cool. They agree not to take salaries, but share in the film's profits. It gets greenlit at Paramount. Well, I mean, yeah, in this case, yes. Greenlit a $12 to $13 million budget. With a cap distribution fee at $6 million. So that's great. Then in 85, right? 85 comes up after this first kind of iteration that happened in 84. 85 comes up. Kelly McGillis gets attached. Kathy Moriarty gets attached. Dennis Hopper, Joe Pesci, Harvey Keitel. Really interesting, cool cast. They begin building the sets. They begin building everything. But again, the Robert Evans wanting to act thing ends up creating this giant argument.
Yeah. Well, Robert Evans, I mean, everybody remembers him as this larger-than-life producer. If you've seen the documentary "The Kid Stays in the Picture," based on his own autobiography,
he's a fantastic. He was a great producer.
Robert Evans, he talks like this, and
But like, there
Everybody
was a
forgets though.
fight.
He started
It was an argument
before he switched to being a movie executive.
right?
I kind of don't blame him for wanting to get back into acting, but apparently he had a bunch of plastic surgery as well, and everybody was like, "Ooh, no."
Well, he had a bunch of plastic surgery, and the reason the fight happened was because Robert Town was like, the movie takes place in the 40s. You need to have a 40 style haircut. Mm-hmm. And Evans didn't want to have the 40 styles haircut because of the surgery, plastic surgery scars, because it would have been short hair. Like, so then they scheduled to start filming after the confrontation, and then basically nothing happened. And this is where it creates one of the bigger controversies of this movie. After the movie gets stopped, so you have all these problems between Nicholson, Town, and Evans.
Mm-hmm. Now,
but the crew members who had not been paid somewhere upwards of anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million with regard to sets, props, costume, sound stages, they file a grievance with the Screen Actors Guild and the Directors Guild.
Rightfully so.
That causes a huge controversy. So so you have Nicholson, Evans, and Town fighting. Their fighting leads to the movie kind of like petering out. Then it costs all these other people money and jobs, and like so it just creates a fucking clown car. Then they go on and they go to Dino De Laurentiis to help finance it. They still had Kelly McGillis, and at that point in 1984, Kelly McGillis and Harrison Ford was set to take over as Jake. They leave and they go to film another Paramount movie, a movie we've done on this show called Witness in 1985. But at some point, we could have had Harrison Ford as Jake Gittes. And then Roy Scheider at the time was attached to be opposite Harrison Ford. Again, another mind-blowing, like, how would this have worked? So
I mean, we do get Ford in a noir film with Blade Runner, but I don't want it. But in a true period set noir piece, I would have loved to have seen. But Jake Gittes is Jack Nicholson.
That's fine, but at that point,
any more than I would replace, Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones.
The same thing. I agree, but I'm fascinated. Like, I would have liked to see Harrison Ford as the other Jake. That, like, Ford and Nicholson together, that could have been mind-blowing. At that point, though, also that particular iteration of the script and film, they had John Huston sitting there waiting to make it. And Robert Towne said, "Hey, whoa, we never said it was going to be John Huston directing." But at that point, Paramount was so worried because everybody's fighting and everybody's like doing whatever.
Given that the shadow of Huston's character in Chinatown and what he has done is such, hovers over the entire story of the two Jakes, I think Huston directing would have been a perfect choice.
Huston directing would have been fantastic.
Yes,
because it would have been one of his last movies. I think he understands noir. So that version ends, right?
They pull the plug. Falcon, for goodness sakes.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, he understands noir. But so Paramount pulls the plug. Then they shop the movie to the Cannon Group. I was shocked. It was like the Cannon Group almost got the sequel to Chinatown. So then what happened was they tried to buy the film from Paramount. And then Cannon lost the rights. It reverts back to Paramount. And then the project gets discontinued. Then Nicholson starts taking, he rewrote parts of Town's script, which was really only about 80% ready. He takes on the responsibility of directing, and then filming begins in April 1989. 2 months before Jack Nicholson will never have to work again. It goes from April 18, 1989 through July 26. They had to shoot numerous reshoots, right? So the release date gets pushed from Christmas 1989 to August 1990. although Nicholson has always insisted in every interview and everything, and I quote, "It came in perfectly on schedule and perfectly on budget, the budget being $25 million.
Mm-hmm.
But in the
I'm gonna maybe push a little bit back on the Nicholson rewrote the script thing.
Sure.
I didn't have time to do this for the whole movie, but for the first 20 or 30 minutes, I pulled up. I have two different drafts of the script from 84 and 85. I pulled up the earliest draft I could find, which is like the first revised draft from like October of 84. And it pretty much follows that first 15 or 20 minutes, all the way up to where Jake lights the cigarette and gas explosion. It follows that. It's scene for scene, the exact same thing. Almost all of the dialogue is intact. There's some little changes here and there. Some stuff gets excised out just to make the whole pace of everything go faster. And then once we get to that that explosion where Jake, goes flying through the air, hits his head, that's where Town has the script go off on a 10-page flashback kind of like montage phantasmagoria or what have you of scenes and bits from the original film. And
which they kind of do. It's a small brief.
Oh, but this is much longer. This is, like I said, this is like 10 pages. It probably would have clocked in about close to 5 minutes or something silly. Interspaced with and overlaid with some of the wire recording audio at certain points. And it was just like, really? What the And that's what I was like, well, I don't have time to really do a deep dive on this. We're going live in a couple of hours, so I kind of put that to the side. But
it's an interesting question because that particular portion of the movie, up until that point, you don't have any idea it has anything. You hear the name on the tape, but up until that point where he's sitting there and he gets the giant sign that you remember from the first movie, and it's still got the gunshot hole from the first movie, and you're like, okay. And I'm gonna make it honest.
We'll just sitting around on the ground 11 years later.
Still sitting there. And it's a weird revelation, but that's an interesting offshoot that it took like a 10-page script. But the last thing I think, the most interesting thing about this production is this Nicholson, Robert Towne, and Evans, who were really great Hollywood pals, they never spoke again. And Robert Evans, after this particular fight with Towne and Nicholson, Robert Evans eventually checks into a rehab facility. So, I mean, it's part of it. He
was inhaling cocaine the way some of us inhale
air. Yes. No, but also I think it's interesting that, but these were three guys that blew through Hollywood in the 70s and 80s for a good portion. The idea that they couldn't get on the same page with a movie that, well, for one, it didn't need a sequel, but if we're talking about movies that you could see having sequels, Jake Gittes is certainly a phantasmical character, right? He's basically, he follows cheating people around and gets pictures and gets in the dirt. He gets in the mud with everybody, right? So, but the problem is the ambition. Like, you have Chinatown. And Robert Evans, one of the things that you can read up on Robert Evans, when he took over Paramount, he greenlit movies that nobody had any fucking business greenlighting. And he made bold, huge decisions. Like, without Robert Evans, you don't get The Godfather. Without Robert Evans, you don't get Love Story. Without Robert Evans, you don't get Chinatown. Like, and so to hear that this movie, this particular filming, this particular production caused three great Hollywood friends who made good work, who did good work together, to completely break up. This may be the saddest backstage feuding we've ever had on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've had backstage feuding where it's funny, Deborah Winger and Shirley MacLaine with their humorous back and forth on the sets of Terms of Endearment. But the idea that Robert Towne and Jack Nicholson and Robert Evans stopped speaking because of this movie made me sad, Rich, reading about it today.
I don't blame you.
It made me sad because they're so good. And like, theoretically, this movie should have been a knockout, like, haymaker of a punch in 1990. What's up, fellas? Hi, Jerry.
Hey.
We're doing the two Jakes tonight, buddy. But like I said, production, like Nicholson, I will say one thing. Nicholson was a director of 3 films, right? And this one is polished. It looks good. There are some interesting decisions made. I think, Chinatown, I was going through it, right? Chinatown famously doesn't have a voiceover.
Exactly.
Right? And this one does. We're going to get into it in critical response. Let's do box office quick.
I have notes on my feelings about the voiceover.
Yeah, the voiceover. It's like the voiceover in Blade Runner. We'll get there. Box office. So, long and short of it, this movie made $10 million total in 1990. Adjusted domestic box office for inflation would be 26.8. It opened in 1,206 theaters. It only played 1,206 theaters, and it only lasted 2 weeks. Opening weekend was $3.7 million. So not good. But what I wanted to do, because I don't have a lot to talk about box office wise, Rich, I thought we would get into what was going on at the box office in 1990. Fun.
Okay.
So
now in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s, August was always thought to be a dump month, right?
Yes.
It's like, we got some crap films, we're going to dump it. August 1990 absolutely puts that.
Yeah, not a dump month. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. So on July 13th, Ghost opened, and Ghost was still going strong on August 10th. On July 27th, Presumed Innocent opened, which was the Harrison Ford movie. I get, the crime
directed
movie.
by Roman Polanski.
No, not directed by. No. Presumed Innocent. No.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Frantic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Presumed Innocent is not direct.
No.
Oh my goodness, you're killing me, Rich.
Sorry.
Presumed Innocent is. Oh no, Presumed Innocent comes up. Hold on. It comes up with the new show. Alan Pakula directed Presumed Innocent.
Pakula. That's right. I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's still playing at the box office. Flatliners opens on August 10th. Pretty big movie. Julie Roberts, Kiefer Sutherland, sci-fi. August 3rd, Young Guns 2 came out. Problem Child came out on July 27th. Arachnophobia opened on July 20th. Also on August 10th, Air America.
Which is not a good film, but...
Which is not a good film, but it has Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr.
Well, Mel Gibson was the draw there at the time.
Yeah. Let's see. Other movies that are still playing. Die Hard 2 opened on July 6th. The Exorcist 3 would come out a week later. The Freshman opened on July 20th. Mo Better Blues opened on August 3rd. Days of Thunder opened on June 29th. Darkman opened on August 24th.
Baby.
But yeah, so it was very busy.
On my list, I don't have dates. I just have for the month. We also saw DuckTales, Treasure of the Lost Lamp, which was a big kids flick. We did Flatliners, right?
I did Flatliners. We had a Jungle Book re-release.
My Blue Heaven.
My Blue Heaven.
Wild at Heart. Pump Up the Volume.
Yep. Total Recall was still playing.
Akira Kurosawa's Dreams, which had Scorsese pushing that. So
Dick Tracy was still playing. Quick Change.
Men at Work. Quick Change.
Quick Change.
Yeah. It was a great end of the year, end of the summer.
1990 had a great 1990 was a great summer. But so this movie had all kinds of fucking competition. It had competition all over the place. Not to mention that, like I said, Ghost and Presumed Innocent. I think Presumed Innocent is a great reason why this movie kind of failed. Because Presumed Innocent, you're taking Harrison Ford at, it opened on July 27th, 2 weeks before this opened. Ford, that movie ends up grossing $86 million in 1990. 49 of it coming in August. Ghost grossed 217 from July 13th on, and 63 of it came in August. So the engine was revving, but not necessarily for a sequel to a movie from the 70s.
I dare say it's not just a movie sequel of a movie from the 70s. One of the seminal pre-Star Wars films, when Star Wars came and Jaws came and reconceived what we thought of as blockbuster. This was still kind of like that new Hollywood Young Turks era.
The height of the Young Auteur 70s era.
Yeah. And it was one of the biggest films of all time in terms of critical response, in terms of, how people felt about the screenplay and everything. Yeah. And so
a truly beloved movie.
We want to do a sequel to something really fucking amazing. And you're like, well, it's got to be even more fucking amazing. You got to plus it somehow. Go through all the problems that it had trying to get in front of the cameras. I think there was just some bad mojo, and I think the critics were probably sharpening their knives a little bit, going, okay, if this is anything less than an absolute equal to Chinatown, we're going to eviscerate it utterly. And I think this movie was unfairly targeted. It got a lot of bad reviews when it first came out. And honestly, I think another reason why people had trouble with it, I think this sounds crazy, but it's very reliant on you knowing Chinatown. In fact, when I reviewed the movie, this is one of the movies I reviewed in college because they sent me a poster. But when it came out on VHS in November of 1990, I did a review of it because it was hitting home video. And I said, it's a good movie. It's a solid movie, but it makes an even better movie if you do it as a double feature with Chinatown. Or words to that effect. I could not find my exact review of it.
I'm going to push back.
Writing.
I think it's imperative. You have to do a double feature with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joe has a question. I'm assuming this was Nicholson's only movie sequel. Yes, as far as I can see. He didn't make a sequel to anything. Like, the things he was sequels in, he died in. So, but the interesting thing here is, I think you're right. I think so once Catherine Mulray comes up on the tape, and the movie starts like, okay, you know what? We're done with box office. We're moving on. Because we need to talk about this movie. First off, we need to talk about it just as a movie itself. And that's a good way to start critical response then and now. So it's playing normal, right? And you got Nicholson, and he's Gittes, and Gittes is back, and he's in a better building. He has people all around him. He has a better car. He has a better suit. Everything's great. He's living the dream. And
everything's coming up, Jake.
Everything's coming up, Jake, baby. And what I think is interesting, though, is once the plot kicks in, if you haven't seen Chinatown, it's almost impossible to try to figure out what's going on. And although the movie is about getting over your past or, dealing with past trauma and not allowing it to control your life, because that's the gist. Where it doesn't work is that if you haven't seen Chinatown, you haven't seen Chinatown. It's like a fucking, it's a crash course in like, okay, Catherine Mulray seems important. I don't know who that is if I haven't seen Chinatown. And frankly, she's not all that important in Chinatown until the last 20 minutes. So it's also like, you know, it just becomes this. So I rewatched Chinatown last night. So I rewatched Chinatown last night in preparation for this today. And then I watched this today and I'm like, if I hadn't watched Chinatown, you can get over like the specifics, you know, my sister, my daughter, that's fine. But the idea, you know, the crash, like you understand the ending of Chinatown as a complete crash course in shit not going the hero's way at all. And so Jake is kind of he comes into this movie as, you know, as he's world weary, but he's good at his job. He's thrown himself into his work, right? He has a girlfriend, but it's not going well. You know, and the movie looks great. Like
let's get before we get on to how beautifully it's shot and everything,
it really
and how
is.
different it's shot from Chinatown. The other thing I was thinking about as I was watching this, besides following along with my script for a little while, was can you make this movie? Can you tell this story, but take out the Chinatown? Take out its dependency on Chinatown. And there are parts of it where I think you can.
Yeah.
But I think you lose a lot of the underlying
up until a certain point, right? Up until a certain point, the movie doesn't need Chinatown. Right?
Exactly.
Jake Gittes is in the middle. He's in the middle of an investigation where, and you know, we're not giving away any spoilers, but basically where he is checking up on a husband's cheating wife, and he brings the husband cheater style, by the way, into the hotel room, and Harvey Keitel kills him. The other Jake shoots the guy who turns out to be Harvey Keitel's business partner, and it's Harvey Keitel's business partner fucking Harvey Keitel's wife, and he kills him in a fit of passion. And it's like he lost his mind for a second, and Jake's in the middle of it. And Jake's whole thing for the first 40 minutes of the movie is, I don't want to lose my license. I set this thing up at the hotel. I don't know how a gun got involved. I frisked him before he went in. Magically, a gun appeared. He shoots the guy. And,
the gun is registered to the victim.
The victim. It's the victim's gun, and it's like a chair delivery in the middle of it. So it's like it's just a regular mystery that Gittes is in the middle of. The movie makes the decision, whether you want to believe it or not, to basically tie it all to Chinatown. And I think it's a great decision if they were making it 4 years after Chinatown. It's a bad decision if you make it 16 years after Chinatown. And so what happens is you have this great character who's in the middle of it. And what I think the story they're trying to tell is that he's
there, JW.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You have this great character who's in the middle of this story where he gets hit with history. And I think what they wanted to do was the idea of this guy who's seen it all and done it all. And every once in a while, when he sees it and does it all, he gets hit with a wave of like, that one reminds me of the one time I was in a hotel room where that happened. And like, so they're trying to do like his world weariness. They tie it to Chinatown. I think it's a mistake. But as the movie progresses and everything kind of spills out, it gets better if you're a Chinatown fan.
I mean,
right?
it's a good if you just want to tell a mystery. But if you want to tell a story about grief, dealing with grief, trying
Trauma,
to live,
the one that got
grief,
away,
then it has to be tied to Chinatown. It has to be tied to one of the most traumatic things you will see in a movie.
well, it's his traumatic moment.
Yes.
It's his moment where he failed. He got somebody he loved killed. He then lost the only thing she cared about to the biggest fucking scumbag in the movie. He's molesting his daughter. He wants to molest his other younger daughter. It's the biggest fucking loss in his life. It's a hell.
Which makes me think, though, I don't know if this is really a noir film, but a drama. It's more of a drama than it is a mystery film. Maybe a thriller. How would you categorize this then?
I think it's film noir, but it's almost like it's a double movie. It's almost like it's a second part of Chinatown. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean the sequel to Chinatown. I mean, if Chinatown were two 2-hour movies split apart, Lord of the Rings style. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that, right?
Chinatown Part 1, Forget It, Jake. Chinatown Part 2, The Two Jakes.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not necessarily a traditional sequel in the sense that, because it's still telling that story, and it goes back to it, and he's trying to figure everything out. My problem is not necessarily that it's doing that, although like I said, up until a certain point, there's no connection, and then the connections come spilling out. It's like, it's like the guts in Empire Strikes Back and the Tauntaun. Everything just kind of spills out, and it's all over the place. And I thought they smelled better on the outside, and everything like that. And it just kind of happens. It just kind of happens, and I don't know that it does the film justice. I mean, because you could still have him, be thinking about Faye Dunaway's character. You could still have him trying to track Catherine down and make sure she was okay, because he couldn't do anything about the ending, right? He's a hero. He's a protagonist that loses the girl, loses the fight, loses everything. And so you could still have it like in the background as part of his hero journey, but you don't have to base the entire, like, where I think it kind of like, I don't want to see jumps the shark, where it kind of goes a little bit crazy is, again, the concept of being like in the exact same spot, but it's 16 years later, and the fucking sign is still there. That bugged the shit out of me. There's a sign that gets shot in Chinatown, and he sits down at a spot where he's coming out, and they're doing it used to be an orchard, but it's not an orchard anymore. And now it's like they're building homes. And that's part of the real estate scam of the movie. And he sits down, and the fucking sign is still there, Rich. It boggles the mind.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier. But
I'm just saying, like, that kind of stuff, that takes away from the movie. It doesn't help him. Because, like, you and I look at it and go, oh, that's the sign. But if you've never seen Chinatown, can you imagine sitting in a theater in 1990 going, why is he longingly looking at, like, he wants to fuck that sign?
Oh, he doesn't look at it like that.
He looks at it longingly, Rich. Rich, he looks at it like, I've been here before. And it's
that's because you have the knowledge of Chinatown. I think if you hadn't seen Chinatown and you just saw that scene, it's just he's weary, he's tired, he's getting ready to have a smoke because he's just so and he just kind of
can we talk about that for a moment?
No trespassing, and he's like, yeah, maybe I should have stayed at home.
The smoking, by the way, this has got to be one of the biggest smoking movies in the history of smoking. This movie, everybody, there are people like in the background that have 3 cigarettes in an ashtray. Like it's everywhere in this fucking movie. But anyway,
it was the 40s, baby.
It was the 40s. Everything was great. Radium everywhere, gas under everything. But I think for me, it doesn't take away from it. But as I'm watching it, it gets to the point where it's trying to cross all the things. And the thing about it, Rich, is there are interesting characters in this movie. The Madeleine Stowe character is fascinating. She's a sociopath. She's crazy as hell, and she's been damaged.
The reason they invented the term "bug fuck nuts."
She's crazy, and so instead of focusing on Faye Dunaway, who's not with us anymore in this universe, could we have done that? You know what I mean? Like, could we have, and then it has Meg Tilly, and then, one of the slight problems, Rich, and again, I like this movie. I don't want to, I'm just telling you, you can pick it up, you can sort of pick it apart, but still have a love for it, right? How bad is it when you're sitting there watching the movie and it's Catherine? When did you know it was Catherine, Rich, when you originally saw it?
Oh, geez.
How bad is it? Jake Gittes has seen everything, done everything, and he gets fooled by somebody changing their hair color.
I honestly can't remember. But then again, too, this person is going from 14 to 25, which you lose some baby fat out of the face, you grow a few inches, your figure maybe fills out a bit if you're a female. That's going to look like a different person if you haven't seen them. I mean, if you see them every 6 weeks because they're your niece or something like that, you see that change incrementally, and you make that you see that growth. But going from bump to bump,
I didn't remember it. I didn't remember it, and the moment Meg Tilly walked across the screen, I'm like, holy fuck, it's Catherine. And then I'm like, as I was sitting there watching, I'm like, when is Jake going to figure this out? Because I have faith in Jake. I like Jake as an investigator. He's super smart, and he doesn't get it. Last half hour, he doesn't get it until the pictures, where he starts putting everything together. So I think that those are problematic things. Like Meg Tilly, by the way. Oh my God. Anyway, Jesus. Also,
can we have a moment to praise Meg Tilly's performance here?
She's great.
She didn't do as much as an actress as her sister Jennifer did, but this really should have been in the conversation for the Academy Awards in 1991 as a supporting.
I agree with that. I agree with it. It's a subtle performance. She has one great scene at Max Factor where she's under green skin makeup and she's not giving him anything, but she's also clearly taking in everything he's giving her, and just kind of like it's a wonderful scene.
Speaking of the Max Factor beauty salon, that's the actual. They use the actual exterior. They also use the actual interior, because that location is now the Hollywood Museum. And I went online, and there are pictures of like the lobby area, and it's exactly as you see it in the movie.
Can I ask a question? Did you notice it when they're going through the Max Factor lobby? There's one, they do a thing past it looks like something out of Silent Hill and the Hellraiser, and it apparently was like that giant like face thing. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
What they did for good hair in the 40s.
The mystery of women's beauty products is a mystery.
It's a mystery. Let's talk about James Hong for a second.
Oh,
fantastic. So good in this movie. It's a great scene. Again, there are sequences of scenes that are very, very good, that like are where he's going over, he's trying to figure out, get all the information he needs, right?
It's funny because there are characters that are very integral to the plot of Chinatown that he revisits with, like the James Hong character. And then there are other people who show up and you remember them from Chinatown, like like Ty and the guy at the office.
Captain Lou Escobar is a big portion of it. Escobar, and then David Keith plays the son of the character that shot Evelyn.
Yes.
So and they have a great sequence in the. They have a really great sequence, where he makes him suck a gun, which is just about as emasculating as you can get. Mm-hmm. And like I said,
I have to wonder, and that's another thing I'm going to have to dig into the script when I find a moment. I was wondering, what did the actor who played Loesch, or the guy who shot Evelyn, I'm wondering if he was originally supposed to come back, because remember, this is only like 11 years between the movies, and I'm wondering if the actor perhaps passed away. This just occurred to me now. Otherwise, I would have looked it up earlier.
Give me 1 second. I'm working on it.
Sure.
Dick Backlund. Oh, he was a very famous actor. No. He died in 2015.
Okay. Maybe he didn't want to come back then. I don't know, because I think it would have been a stronger. Would have been a stronger scene if it was the actual guy, or because we're talking about children dealing with trauma from their parents in a way with Catherine and Evelyn. Is there a parallel to be drawn between these two guys, father and son cops, in a way that they cause trauma? And so if the father can't pay for it, then the son is going to have to pay for the trauma.
It doesn't look like he did a lot of work in the 80s. So he
might have been retired.
He did Chinatown. He did Strongest Man in the World, Shaggy DA in 76, Return from Witch Mountain in 78. He did HOTS, HOTS in 79, The Man with Bogart's Face in 80, Fox and the Hound as Dinky in 1981, Blame It on the Night in 1984, Confessions of a Hitman in 94. So from 84 to 94, he wasn't working. Interesting. And then he was doing a lot of TV, though. He did a lot of TV from 84. He's on almost every show. All of them. Fall Guy, Herbie the Love Bug, Cagney and Lacey, Hill Street Blues, Scarecrow, Mrs. King, Sledgehammer, Hunter, Matlock, Baywatch Nights, Jag.
No, I'm just thinking
that's an interesting thing. I think they're probably going for the childhood trauma thing. The idea that his dad was a douche and now he's a douche. But it becomes one of those things where it's like I said, I think we use Rotten Tomatoes as a good way to do an aggregate. It's at 59% with 32 reviews. It's at 38% from the popcorn meter. So people fucking hate this movie. But
we didn't talk about the narration. We said we were going to talk about the narration. And we haven't done it yet.
We'll get there. Hold on. You want to hear what Roger Ebert said?
Sure.
Roger Ebert.
Loved this.
3 out of 5 out of 4. Writing that every scene falls into place like clockwork. It's exquisite. Vincent Canby also called it enjoyable if clunky. Variety called it jumbled, obtuse, yet not entirely unsatisfying. And then Washington Post wrote, at best, the movie comes across as a competently assembled job, a wistful tribute to its former self. At worst, it's wordy, confusing, and the ugliest word ever, boring. I don't think it's boring. Because Nicholson carries the movie, right? Nicholson is great. And like I said, all the little bit actors, Madeleine Stowe, James Hong, Harvey Keitel, Ruben Blades as a mafioso guy that, not a mafioso, but like a thug, a street thug that owns a gay bar. It's great.
And who's friends with the other Jake. Now, that reminds me, that scene at the end, without getting into too much details, where the one Jake decides he wants to smoke, and the Ruben Blades character is there as the Jack Nicholson character.
The hug.
those two share a moment because they're lifelong friends. Even though you're like, I don't like this guy because he's a mobster. I don't like this guy because of what we learned through the movie. They're both pretty shitty people, kind of. But that moment of friendship where they hug before he runs out.
Keitel's less shitty.
Well,
he's
yeah,
less shitty.
Ruben Blades he's shitty
Blades is a douche.
Yeah, the other
Ruben
guy.
Blades in this movie is evil. He's a bad man.
But that moment that they share before Ruben Blades' character,
a childhood friend.
Yeah, I was legitimately touched this time watching it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Maybe it's because I haven't watched this in several years, and in that time, I've had a couple of friends pass away where you don't get to have that final goodbye.
I
you just get a call, and so I was kind of like, I'm a little jealous of these two right now that they get to say goodbye to each other. They've been friends for so long.
I think with the state of the male condition right now, where we're in the world right now, where you're constantly talking about, call your friends, make sure people know that you love them, let them know, because we're facing a mental health crisis the world has never seen, right? With our phones and with our detached from society. I think that particular scene hits a little harder than it did in 90, right? Because we weren't thinking about it, but they are clearly childhood friends that grew up on the opposite side of things. One went to war, one stayed and kind of built a criminal empire, and then they're finding they've found each other again, and basically they're working through each other's problems. But it is a touching moment, and it is the kind of thing where like, you're right. If you lose a friend and you didn't get the chance to say goodbye, Anyway, I'm coming off a week where we just, for me, Ren's birthday was like last week, so but I understand what you're saying. It is a really great little scene, and like I said, the movie is made up of those. The movie does have a lot of good little moments. Like I said, the key character arc moments, where you have all these assembled really good actors, Eli Wallach and Keitel and Richard Farnsworth is great. He has one scene. He has one scene with Jack Nicholson, and it's completely like, let me see if I can answer any of your questions.
It's all exposition. It's just info dump.
It's an info dump, but it's an exquisitely done info dump. It's probably one of the better info dumps you'll see in a movie. Just like, no, there's no gas over there. Gas is over here, and so it explains things to a little bit. Talk about the narration, Rich.
The secretary in the government office with the guy after he got his
teeth, great.
She was married to Lorne Michaels for about 8 years in the middle of the 80s. And she had done some like small stuff here and there. I think she's in like LA Story and a couple of other things. Because I looked her up this time, I was like, she was really good in this scene. I really like it. She has like a little bit of a sparkle. And then, the son of a bitch, he's married at the end.
Well, like I said, there's vast swaths of the movie that work without any ties to Chinatown whatsoever. You know what I mean? Let's talk about the narration. First off, you were reading the script. Is the narration part of the script that Robert Towne wrote, or is that a piece that Nicholson added?
In the two drafts that I've read from 84 and 85, there is no narration. I suspect, because Chinatown has no narration whatsoever, voiceover narration, and
no Robert Towne narration.
That's strictly Towne's script. That the voiceover narration is a Nicholson injection into the script, whether it happened when he did a rewrite or during the editing process.
Right, because people couldn't understand the fucking movie,
which is crazy.
He went to a screening, and people were like, "We don't know what the fuck's going on." And if I edit
outside of the Chinatown thing, I can understand that. But at the time the movie came out, I remember, this is again speaks to, I think, film writers were sharpening their knives for this movie. Apparently, and this may be apocryphal, but I did remember reading this. Apparently, somewhere, a theater mixed up two of the reels and showed those two reels out of order, and allegedly no one ever even noticed because the movie was so confusing to begin with. Again, possibly apocryphal, but take it for what it's worth.
Like I said,
but your thoughts on the narration?
I think the narration. So, as somebody who comes from Blade Runner world, where we had the first time I ever saw Blade Runner had a narration, and then each successive director's cut or producer's cut or Ford cut or whatever cuts we're getting, the unicorn cut, they cut the narration. And I do think the movie works better without the narration because you have to figure it out on your own. While it screams, the interesting thing is the original Chinatown has no narration. So the idea that the second Chinatown needs narration, and like when did Jake Gittes start talking to himself is the question. Right?
Well, and for me, with no narration in Chinatown, it kind of forces the viewer, you the audience member, to concentrate on the performance and try to figure out everybody's state of mind based on what they're doing. And it gets you into a very morally gray area very quickly because you don't know what's going on in these people's minds. You sort of have to watch it all play out. With the narration here, though, this keeps us in what Jake's mindset is. So we don't have that kind of ambiguity. And I think the movie loses kind of like a bit of a shading to it, because we know what Jake is thinking all the time, instead of what is Jake thinking? We know. So, I think the narration, I see kind of the point, because you're already asking people to remember a movie that they may have saw 16 years earlier, or they may have rented on VHS 5 years ago, or may have seen on HBO 8 years ago.
Yeah, no.
I remember specific details, whereas,
But you and I have both been in screenwriting classes in college where they said, don't do narration, it's a crutch. Don't talk, show, right? Mm-hmm. And so you take one of the greatest screenplays of all time and you make a movie, and then you make a second movie where you put the narration in. And it does give him shading. It tells you what he's thinking all the time. But I think if you're watching the movie, you're getting the idea that he's like, there are hints, like there are hints that he's been wrapped up in the Chinatown thing since it happened, right? Yeah. And he luckily got to go to war, right? He luckily got to go to World War II to get his mind off of Evelyn Mulwray. But like there are hints in the script that I think the narration was tacked on when it, like a bad screening would be my guess, like where people wrote on the cards. We don't know what's happening. But like there are hints in the script. Like there's a moment in the script where one of his assistants, where he's talking to him and they're listening to the tape, and Catherine Mulwray's name comes up on the tape, and he gets up at the end of the scene and says to Jake, just because her goddamn name came up with it, you shouldn't be thinking about that. Like, this has nothing to do with it. Now, that guy's wrong, because it has everything to do with it. But the thing there is, he knows, like, that character knows that every time Catherine Mulwray or Evelyn Mulwray or anything about the Chinatown incident, every time it comes up, Jake gets a little bit more melancholy, right? Or he gets into a pity party where he's like, he blames himself for all the things he failed on that particular night, right? So it's there in the script without having their narration. But like the one narration that bugged the shit out of me, that was just like where I was like sitting there going, I don't need this. I already know how he thinks. There's a sequence where he's going to see Madeleine Stowe. By the way, just so we're clear, the single greatest pink chiffon outfit ever. Like, just my God, man. My God, I'm only human. It's a filthy scene, and there's not even any nudity in it. It's just dirty and great. Anyway, but there's a scene where he's going to see her, and he's walking up the stairs, and one of the things the narration says is, every time I get in a situation or I see a skirt that reminds me of a woman, but what if it's the woman? And I'm like, I know you're in love with Evelyn. We don't need this. We know you're obsessed with that. We know you've been obsessed with Faye Dunaway's character since the moment she walked in the fucking door. Every once in a while, narrations get added to movies because people are dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And this might be one of those situations, but I also think, Rich, it could be one of those situations where people were probably dumb, but also the movie isn't super A to B. It's not A to Z. It's kind of like A to E, back to B, over to C, up to E.
Jeremy Bearimy.
Yeah, just a little bit. And so I think that's part of it. But like I said, I think I don't know that you can watch it without watching Chinatown. And I'm so glad I watched Chinatown.
I watched Chinatown so much that recently, about 6 months ago. So it wasn't too much. It wasn't a hindrance for me.
But I could easily see it be a real hindrance for everybody. Okay, speaking of hindrances, let's talk legacy. Franchise viability. How about the fact, Rich, when you do a little research, you find out that there's supposed to be a third movie.
Yeah.
And that the third movie would have been crackerjack, because I can see it in my mind's eye. So the canceled sequel was supposed to be a trilogy involving JJ Gittes. Mm-hmm. The third film would have been titled Gittes versus Gittes, and was meant to be set in 1968 when the no-fault divorce went into effect in California. What was the other title?
Cloverleaf, because the other part of the story was going to be about land grabs on the part of the government for the building of the freeway system.
That would have been great, but yeah. Roger Rabbit beat them there.
I was just about to say. However, that sort of kind of became Roger Rabbit.
But great minds think alike, baby. We're everything's coming up Jake's. So I think the legacy of the movie is, for me, the saddest legacy of the movie is that these three guys that palled around Hollywood in the 70s and 80s,
mm-hmm.
they couldn't get their shit together personally to get over fighting about this franchise. And that's my biggest legacy takeaway, is like, they really hated each other after this. That makes me so sad. They were so good together. You know what I mean? Like, and this movie is
Robert Town certainly wasn't hurt for work after this. I mean, 1990, he also had Days of Thunder. 93, he had The Firm.
Robert Town, and you know this full well.
1 and 2, as we talked about.
Robert Town in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, before his passing, Robert Town was the script doctor on every major motion picture ever. Like, if like a studio needed a polish, it got sent to Robert Town, and he either said yes or no and sent it on its way. He never had to make other scripts. Mm-hmm. He just had to like sit back and have. God.
His last movie was again a period Los Angeles piece called Ask the Dust, set in the 1920s, if I recall correctly. I've only seen the film once, and that was at a special screening in Philadelphia, where he was at. So I got him to sign a Chinatown poster for me. Yeah, the guy was amazing, and he understood structure like nobody's business. Like I said, I need to go and read that whole draft of Two Jakes that I have. Maybe that 10-page flashback phantasmagoria that's in there makes some fucking sense once you read that version.
Well, maybe that's if you cut that, maybe that's why you need the narration.
Could be. Could be.
Because I mean, I assume the Phantasmagoria, the 10-page Phantasmagoria, has something to do with the aftermath and the shock of every, like, Jake Gittes climbing into a bottle.
It's all bits from the original movie, even down to where he quotes page numbers in the original script. So I have to wonder if did they excise that out because they thought it was a bad idea, or because it would have cost ridiculous amounts of money, even though it's a Paramount film, and this new movie is coming out from Paramount. You're still going to have to license that footage.
Yeah. By the way, just so we're clear, this movie also has one of the single greatest lines I've ever heard in a movie in my life. I put it on my display, but I couldn't fit it all. But it's, "In this town, I'm the leper with the most fingers." That is a fantastic line. But like the legacy also like here is,
are you happy? Are you happy? Only happy people can answer that. That exchange that Gittes has with.
Yes, like I said, the movie itself, like, it's much maligned. It probably shouldn't be maligned. It's more of a thought piece on trauma than it is like a full film noir, right? So maybe it is a drama. But I think the interesting thing about, like, the legacy of it is that, Nicholson never directs again. Town, Evans, and Nicholson never worked together again. Stinky. We don't get the third movie, which could have been a lot of fun. We don't, like, it bombs so hard. It's such a commercial failure that it completely ends the franchise. Which is sad because it could have been big, you know what I mean? Like, not that it wasn't big, but it could have been. I don't know.
Also, remember back in 2019, they announced that they were going to do a Chinatown prequel series for Netflix, and I think Fincher was going to write that, but that never happened. Yeah. That fell apart too.
Well, and I think it's one of those things where you think it's a good idea up until the point where you get into trying to
the writing process.
Right, you get into the right, like, I'll make a prequel series about JJ Gittes before Chinatown. Like, I don't know. I think it's great up until the point. Now, if you wanted to, like, I don't know. I did come out of it today longing for going and just trying to find gumshoe film noir detective stories. Like, I came out of it going, I really enjoyed this period. The movie the movie that I think this movie wants to be, and it could have been, right, is LA Confidential, right? Like, somehow, somewhere, Curtis Hanson is watching Chinatown and watching this and goes, I have an idea. I like LA. I like the 50s. And that's the movie. If you're Chinatown, Two Jakes, LA Confidential, Zootopia are the ways to go. And actually, if you want to do a kid's side,
and Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
right? You do Chinatown, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You do LA Confidential and Zootopia, and then you throw the Two Jakes in there because you want to see, like, it's a thought piece.
That's a good weekend of sitting around watching TV, watching movies.
That's a great week. That is a fantastic weekend of watching great noir. It's great.
Yeah.
And also, I think, like,
Criterion
Zootopia, is very underrated. The more I watch Zootopia, like, it's become a fixture in our house. The more I watch the Zootopia movies, they're genius. Like, they're really smart. Like, not, there are levels in them that are, they're not Chinatown, but Roger Rabbit is. Roger Rabbit's close. Roger Rabbit's so close.
Oh God.
Because that's about trauma
in
too.
In terms of how that mystery is constructed. Yeah.
That way that movie's constructed is cheating wife, bigger plot point, trauma from the past.
Spouse.
When I was there, when I killed your brother Eddie, I talked just like this. Fuck. That movie hits hard.
2 weeks ago, Criterion had a 50% off flash sale, and I picked up a film noir that I've been meaning to add to the collection. I've seen it a few times. The Big Heat, which is a fantastic film. I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but it's a great noir. I know our mutual friend Natasha, and sometimes a guest here, she loves The Big Heat. In fact, when she was in Paris 2 years ago, which has a bunch of revival house theaters, little revival house theaters. Apparently, she was walking
when
down.
France liked us.
Yes, she was walking down the street and saw in one of those they were showing The Big Heat. She was like, whoop, went right in to watch it.
Whoop.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, I think watching Chinatown, watching the two Jakes will make you want to watch other film noir. Mm-hmm. So that's the other, and like just the sadness that these guys would never work together. Okay.
Yeah.
We are continuing our legacy sequel, trough. We've already done Blade Runner, but we have not done its sequel, which is called Blade Runner 2049. And Blade Runner 2049 is a legacy sequel of the utmost order, coming out, let's see, 35 years after the original.
And given that Ryan Gosling is having a moment, it seems like a good time to
revisit it.
Revisit, yes. Yeah,
and also, just so we're clear, we're revisiting it because it's a fantastic sequel.
Oh God!
The thing that's happened now, again, Two Jakes, not necessarily widely regarded, but the thing that's happened with the last bunch of legacy sequels, they've all been great. Like they've all been. They've found there's a Blade Runner 2049. We're going to get into it. One of the legacy franchise viability things about it is that it is one of the legacy sequel movies where you can look at them and go, even though it's 35 years later, they got the right mix of old and young, of plot points and newfangled stuff. And when we get into it, Gosling again having a moment because of Project Hail Mary, but also it's never wrong to have Harrison Ford on our show. Let's enjoy him while we can. And this is one of this movie. The other guy's having a moment too. The director, Denis Villeneuve, is having a moment. He has a little movie coming out, which they started selling tickets today, Rich.
I know, and they immediately sold out for IMAX screenings.
Yes, but it's just so we're clear, it's just the IMAX, the big IMAX, the 70 millimeter IMAX. It's not the actual, like AMC wasn't selling their IMAX tickets today. But what I think that is, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, that is a direct shot across the bow to Avengers Doomsday. Get the fuck off our date. We're going to sell tickets 6 months in advance, 8 months in advance.
Next week is CinemaCon. I 85% guarantee we will hear a date change for Avengers Doomsday.
I think so too. Okay, if you like our show, we are here every Monday night. Please like and subscribe us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, X, whatever he's calling it, TikTok, all those places. I do another show called Loud and Nerdy on Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. with Jerry Kimura of the band Slapjaw. Also, occasionally Joe Ridgely of the Grand Poobah of the Indie Escape Network. And Raven Hanshaw, who is a fantastic, young, amazing nerd. They also have a show on Thursday nights, bi-weekly Thursday, Untrained Unscripted with Ryan West and Joe Ridgely. They talk about all kinds of stuff. They did an AI show that boiled my blood 2 weeks ago. And Gabe has a big show coming up again on April 25th, I believe, or April 15th at 10 p.m. With a really good guest who's been in a lot of cool movies, including The Exorcist 3 and Law and Order and Stream and Screenboat. Where can people find you? Oh, they can find me, JW the Movie Guy, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those places. Rich, where can people find your stuff and your writing and your cool shit?
All of my writing can be found at filmbuffonline.com. We've got a Facebook page where we'll let you know when new stuff goes up, as well as all sorts of fun stuff like film history and people who died and were born on this date, etc., etc. You can find me on socials at FilmBuffRich on Twitter, Blue Sky, and when I remember that I have the account, Threads.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
How it is.
We should have more records being broken next week by Super Mario Galaxy, because there's no fucking movies coming out to fight it in any way. Thank you for joining us tonight. Go watch the movies. Bye.